Official Wandering Weekends Campground Review for Tallulah Gorge State Park in Tallulah Falls, Georgia. Welcome back. If it is your first time with us, let me explain how we do our campground reviews a little bit. We're a little different than other folks. We split our reviews up into 6 different categories, and those categories are accessibility, scenery, atmosphere, cost, comforts, and kid-friendly. We rank each category 1 through 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. You'll notice there's no such thing as a perfect campground. You'll see that as we go along. Let's go ahead and get started with Tallulah Gorge. We start with accessibility, and accessibility is pretty straightforward for Tallulah Gorge. It's easy to get to the campground. It's right off of 441 in northeastern Georgia. Once you get in the campground, it is very, very tight in some areas. So we have a 32-foot overall length travel trailer, and it was tight. All right, there's a couple of turns in there. You're going to really have to take it slow. They could use some tree trimming as far as trimming up the branches a little bit in some areas. And then it lost a point also for having a downhill dump station. You can't get everything out if your rig is facing downhill. It scored a 7 on accessibility. Next up is scenery. And while the gorge itself is gorgeous, it's one of the prettiest places really in all of Georgia. The campground is just in natural hardwood environments. You can't actually see the gorge from the campground. So it's kind of average, a little bit better than average because it hasn't been logged in quite some time. So it scores a 7 for scenery. Third on the list is atmosphere, and this ranks things like the staff friendliness, the size of the campsites, any kind of parties, anything like that. This was a huge Georgia football weekend, and we didn't experience any loud parties. There were a lot of folks that had their TVs out, but everyone was very cordial towards each other, very respectful. We can always appreciate that. The staff was very friendly. It is just a really great atmosphere at Tallulah Gorge. It scores a 10. Fourth category is cost, and we have this actually laid out for you over at wanderingweekends.com. You can check that out, but it scores just the same as all of our other Georgia state parks. $35 to $37 a night gets you water and 30 amp. I don't think this particular campsite had 50 amp, but that scores at a 5 for cost. Second to last category is comforts, and this category scores things like nearby dining, recreation, shopping, the campground amenities, the campsite amenities, and privacy. The only thing that kept this from getting a perfect score was the privacy. Some of the sites are on top of each other. You don't have a whole ton of privacy there. But otherwise, the town of Clayton, it's literally our favorite North Georgia mountain town, is nearby. It's only about 10 miles away, and they have lots of really great dining and shopping. We even threw axes this particular trip, which if you've never gone axe throwing, you should try it. It's awesome. It's a lot easier than it looks. We thought we were going to chop our feet off, but we didn't. Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent here. Comforts, it did really well. It scores a 9. Next on the list, and our favorite and last category, is kid friendly. And the playground was in really good shape. There's tons of recreation for kids. You can hike all around the gorge if you want to. It's relatively safe in most all areas. There's a couple of trails. Once you start to get off the trail a little bit or further into the trail some, you really have to watch the edges. But the really dangerous parts are pretty much covered up by a fence. Beckett did make it all the way down to the gorge, and I carried him down, but he made it all the way back up, minus about 30 steps or so, which is really impressive. The campground traffic was not bad. There wasn't a whole lot of people just coming in and looky-loos type thing. And the campsite was very safe for kids, so it scores a 9 for kid-friendly. Okay, on to the bonus round, and we started doing this bonus round because some campgrounds do things a little bit better, and the campground review doesn't quite catch it. So a couple of bonus points here for Tallulah Gorge. The visitor center is probably the nicest state park visitor center in the country. I would certainly put it up there. I haven't seen a nicer visitor center. A lot of taxidermy in there, even some live animals, and also information. You know, Tallulah Falls and Tallulah Gorge was once a huge tourist attraction back in the early 1900s. So there's really cool history there. And then you have fairly easy access to the gorge even after hours. So you can check the gorge out. You can check the sunrise. You can check the sunset. It's a really great to have that close access to the gorge. So 2 bonus points for the gorge access and the visitor center. When it's all said and done, Tallulah Gorge knocks it out of the park with a 49. So that is a really, really great score. I think we've only had 2 campgrounds ever score in the 50s. So this is a really great score from us. And it's one of our favorite campgrounds. It really is. There's just a lot of activities, easy for kids to get around, a lot of activities for them to do at the actual campground. You go down to the gorge and you got all the hiking you want. Stunningly gorgeous down there. And yeah, we just really, really love Tallulah Gorge. I hope you get a chance to check out Tallulah Gorge really soon, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please share it with your camping buddies and consider subscribing.